lights are out and you stumble in the dark. You kept pushing on, but then you went too far. When your ship has sailed and all your dreams are lost, everything is wrong, you feel like it's your fault. Just remember, I will be there for you, baby. Remember, there's nothing out there to get you, don't forget it. When life feels lemons, just hold on. Just hold on. Just hold on. You're stronger now than you ever been. You gotta leave now, it's time to catch the wind. You will climb up high and look through the clouds, and when you're feeling low, I know you'll bounce back. Oh, and just remember, I will be there for you, baby. Remember, there's nothing out there to get you, don't forget it. When life throws lemons, just hold on. Just hold on. Just hold on. Just hold on.
After missing a majority of the season, we are here and we are back for the SCL SuperTruck Series, and it all kicks off again here tonight at the Fresh Market 300 from the Talladega Superspeedway. Good evening, everybody. My name is Frank Marchese. Thank you very much for making us a part of your evening. Alongside me, my broadcast partner is David Monospaw. David, off from the Moonshiner Series, now back to the SuperTruck Series. Only about a handful of races to go. We've got Hickory next week, Indianapolis, Bristol, and Atlanta to close out the season after tonight. But this is about as big and a bad as racetrack as they get.
Nice, big, bad racetrack, as you mentioned, here at Talladega. Love to see the high-speed racing. Of course, these trucks always put on a great show, and these drivers are some of the best to do it. So excited to see what we can find here tonight and see who can come out on top here at Talladega.
And right now we have 24 drivers set to take the grid here tonight, which means everybody should, at least in theory, have a dance partner, 12 drivers to 12 drivers. So being able to link up with friends, we saw on Monday night with the 6 of Jonathan Casebeer and the 16 of Michael Matta, was crucial to getting Jonathan Casebeer that long-awaited win on Monday night. You need to have friends here tonight, and with 24 people here, everyone's got at least one.
And of course, making friends where you can find them, as you mentioned, can be very critical here at a super speedway race. Might not necessarily link up with somebody you know right away or even towards the end of this thing, but having a driver that you can work with, that you've worked with in practice, or maybe just seen a little bit on the track throughout the race is a huge advantage, and hopefully these drivers can find somebody they're comfortable with, especially come the end of this race.
Absolutely. As we wait about 2 more minutes to go here before we get into the qualifying session here. Now, typically, this is the point of the broadcast where I will ask you about the point standings coming in, but right now, unfortunately, we don't have that set up. We will have that set up for Hickory next week. But coming into Talladega, it's a racetrack where hold it wide open, turn left. That's really all you have to do. But there's plenty of strategy involved here in races like this. Some drivers like to qualify, some like not to. Some drivers like to race at the front. Some like to just hang out, wait for everything to happen in front of them, and then start to work their way through the field. David, I haven't raced with you on a super speedway. What is your typical way of doing it? Are you one of those qualify and get up in front of the mess kind of guys, or are you one of those let's just lay back?
It all comes down to how many teammates I have in a session, but for the most part, what we end up doing is we'll run a qualifying laps, get those times, and see where we stack up on the board. If we're above the midway point, we'll try to push to the front and stay out in front of all the chaos that you usually see at a super speedway. But if we have even one teammate that qualifies in the back half of the field, everybody's making their way to the back, working together as a team, of course. Strategy, as you mentioned, being very critical, very important, setting up that strategy, and of course trying to save that fuel from the back of the pack if somebody qualifies back there.
Absolutely, and with 75 laps here tonight at Talladega, that is certainly going to be a factor, is going to be working that pitch strategy. We have seen a couple races in this series come down to fuel mileage, really not a place where you want to get stuck on the wrong end of a fuel strategy.
And on the wrong end of a fuel strategy, I found myself just a few weeks ago in one of the leagues I run, coming down to the last couple of laps. It was at Daytona, another very long track, and we had a green-white checkered attempt, and I was like, I got 3 laps left, I'll be fine. And don't you know it, trouble came and found me, and I ran out of gas coming back to the start-finish line. So hopefully not something these drivers will have to deal with tonight, but keep in mind, we have those extra green-white checkers at the end. These drivers could find themselves in trouble if they don't add enough gas on that money stop.
I have my own Talladega fuel mileage horror story that I will tell you about a little bit later on, but we'll jump into the qualifying session, I should say. As it sits, there's Ronnie Hurst out on track. So a little bit to talk about as far as Ronnie Hurst is concerned. We interviewed him as the man who finished second place on Monday night. Unfortunately, that turned out to not be the case. That last lap calamity that everyone got involved in, seemingly except for Jonathan Casebeer. Ronnie Hurst had made contact in the tri-oval on that final lap, and that put him over the incident limit. He was disqualified from the race, so he did finish in the 24th position, but crossed the line in second. That's very demoralizing as far as the point situation for him is concerned over on Monday night. But here, it's a quick chance to turn it around at the same exact racetrack. Different car, but now he has another chance to go after that victory.
And a great opportunity here in the trucks to get that opportunity back. As you mentioned, quite a disappointing way to find out you're not going to be taking home that second place finish spot where you just an unfortunate situation there. See if he can earn some redemption tonight in the truck series.
Absolutely is. Jump on board. There's Jason Crumley. Car number 83. A couple more drivers have trickled into the session. One of those drivers being the 78 of Brandon Baker, series rookie here in car number 78 tonight. That Ford F-150, a very large smattering, by the way, of Fords throughout this field. I'm counting, 13 Fords of the 26 or so drivers that we have here tonight? That's quite a bit for the Blue Ovals in the Truck Series.
Certainly haven't taken a total tally myself yet on total numbers, but as you mentioned, quite a bit of Blue Ovals throughout the field tonight, and little different from the usual Chevy fields that we find ourselves in.
Yeah, you typically see the Chevy and the Toyota here in, at least in the Truck Series. Is there's Justin Lewis, driver who on Monday night pretty much had everything happen right in front of him. As Lewis now fastest of all so far at a 55.83 for car number 7. Todd Merkel sitting right behind him. Derek Wegman in the 39. Here he comes on that second qualifying lap. Wegman put down a 56.09 his first time through, and Wegman will go marginally quicker on the second lap, not enough to improve his time or his qualifying position, as Todd Merkel now crossing the line. 56.09, not good enough. Joshua Yarborough on circuit. 1 minute left here in qualifying. Yarborough right down on that bottom, just above the grass, and Yarborough will go from 14th up to position undisclosed from what we can tell. Josh Tarrant Hill, first and only lap, will get him 16th at a 56.11. That Hendrick car is number 8 Chevrolet, and with 15 seconds left to go, nobody really close to crossing the line. Lilith Peters might, but she's going to take this as pit entry practice, so it will be Justin Lewis taking the pole here for tonight's race. And for Lewis, who has been dominant pretty much everywhere but Monday nights, this is just a continuation of what he has been able to do all season long. We'll take a look here at the starting grid for the Fresh Market 300 here at Talladega. Justin Lewis with a time of 55.831 will sit on the front row. Todd Merkel to his outside on that front row. Klaus Williams and Austin Call will make up row number 2, with Johnny Wood Jr. and Michael Matta in row 3. Brendan Kornoyer and Barrett Flo in row 4. Derek Wegman and Brandon Herzing in row number 5. Jonathan Casebeer, Monday's winner and fastest man in practice, will line up on the inside of row 6 next to Jason Crumley. Adam Lowe and Joshua Yarborough will make up row number 7. Chad Jones and Josh Tarrant-Hill in row number 8. Row 9 will go to Brandon Baker and Ronnie Hurst, with Joshua Coroner and Peter Shepard in row number 10. Nathan Harper, Lilith Peters in row 11. Christopher Melton and Brandon Hinton in row number 12. And David Hanna will line up the 25th and final car here in this field today. Weather conditions here for today's race. We're just past 1:45 in sim time. 3-mile-an-hour winds blowing almost directly south. 76-degree ambient temperature, but 103-degree track temperature here tonight. That is quite toasty for Alabama in what we're simming as just a couple of days before October.
Certainly some warm track temps, but shouldn't have too much of an effect on these trucks throughout the races. Even a high track temp here really won't eat into tires on this Superspeedway race package.
So now we wait for the drivers to line up on the grid so we can get going here for tonight's race. It'll be 75 laps here from Talladega. These drivers do have one fast repair on offer to them as standard through all 4 levels of this series. 3 green-white checkers here tonight. We didn't have to use any on Monday night, which was very nice. But tonight could be a different story. These cars handle a little bit better. They're a little bit slower, which means they are going to be a little bit more compact together. See any C fixed room as to why somebody would fall from an A license to a B, especially on Superspeedway week.
But what a great package to race. And as you mentioned, these trucks really kind of offering the mobility to these drivers as they don't race quite as fast, but really tightens up those groups and gives you a great opportunity to kind of understand what it's like to race in traffic and really move around each other. And I have the highest expectations out of these drivers. We see quite a lot of them from the SCL series slicing and dicing their way through fields. So it'll be interesting to see how they handle around each other in these trucks. And then, of course, fighting for that win at the end of this thing should be a great, great watch. Hope to see all the action here.
Yeah, it absolutely will be. As we got a couple more drivers still yet to take the grid here. So right around this time usually is, if I'm, say, in Johnny Wood Jr.'s position, I'm going to try my damnedest to get up to the race lead first lap. Not do anything stupid, of course, but try my best to get up to the race lead on the first lap, take that race lead, and then bail right on out to the inside and head towards the back of this group. So race like hell for 2.5 miles and then kind of give it a little bit of a breather. You mentioned that you're very much on the team game as far as going to the back if one of them's in the back. Is that kind of more or less your strategy as well when you're by yourself in one of these?
Full strategy if I am alone 100%, regardless of where I start. Even if I'm on pole, I am making my way to wherever I can get to, the inside, outside. I'm going to the back. I don't want anything to do with all that calamity that can happen at the front of these things. But drivers here, of course, as I mentioned, being very racy. If I was racing in a league like this, I'd be tempted to stay out front because I know how much that track position can really mean. Maybe drop a position or two back from that pole knowing that I could save a little gas. But these guys do a great job overall with racemanship and really keeping these races pretty clean.
Yeah, we saw last on Monday night when last we broadcasted from Talladega, these guys were able to string themselves out. A couple of drivers had to make some pretty big saves in the middle of the pack, which strung the pack out. But for the most part, everyone kind of raced where they were. We saw especially Justin Lewis try to make that third lane work. The outside lane around this racetrack is very, very helpful in the next-gen car if you know how to run it. We should see a dominant inside line here tonight for the truck race.
And as I mentioned, I'm super excited. I don't get to watch a whole lot of truck racing. I don't do a whole lot of truck racing anymore. So excited to see how these drivers that race consistently at the multiple different levels on offer here through SCL, how they handle this slower kind of speed compared to those cup cars. And of course, obviously that dominant performance that slower speed gives you. These guys getting ready here, pace car getting ready to take one more lap and then down and away. Will be green flag racing very shortly.
David, you took that green B license and never looked back from there, huh?
As soon as I got past the trucks, the calamity that unfolds in that C license, of course, everybody trying to make their way up to the Cup Series and above there. As you mentioned, never took a look back, and I will hop into a truck every now and then, but I will stay away from officials in the trucks for sure.
I'll tell you what is a lot of fun, and that's something that's an official C-Class race this week, and that is the C-Class Street Stocks at Auto Club. That is a fun time. You want to talk about Superspeedway racing in slow motion. That is about as good as it gets. So these drivers getting another 2.5 miles, a little bit more than 2.5 miles, to think, rethink, and overthink this race start here. As again, it will be Justin Lewis and Todd Merkel on the front row. Now, these two didn't spend too much time up towards the front on Monday. Lord knows Justin Lewis certainly tried to get there. Todd Merkel, though, appeared to be a heck of a lot better pusher on Monday night. The only difference here is the guy he was pushing for most of that race is not here tonight, and that would have been the 60 of Eric Schaus. He's going to have to try to hook up with somebody else, try to get them to the front tonight.
Plenty of time to find a dance partner, and I'm sure knowing that from Monday night, the guy that you were used to isn't in the field, I'm sure he took some time in practice to try to figure it out and narrow some things out so that he could find that dance partner early on in this thing. Hopefully it's all playing out for him, but getting ready for that green flag racing here as they're making their way towards the exit of turn 4 now, getting ready for that pace car to dive down and away. All that we have left to do here is kind of strap up that harness, get ready for some good green flag racing. These trucks ready to go as they make their way towards that Geico restart zone.
Sorry if that was right in your ear. Green flag getting set to come out. Justin Lewis on the bottom, waiting to get into the Geico restart zone. 75 laps here from Talladega Superspeedway. We are green here. Ooh, big wiggle in the back there that looked to be the 39 of Wegman.
Drivers out front getting off to a very good restart. That 2 machine of Merkel able to get out to the lead within turn 1 and slot himself all the way down to the front of that inside line. That leaves the 18 of Call on the outside line, leading that all on his own. Unfortunately, not able to get a great push, a great run through the turn. See what they can do down the back straightaway here. See if he can make those positions up in turns 3 and 4.
Austin Call didn't do a lot of racing up towards the front on Monday night. However, he is certainly a guy who is no stranger to the front of a field. Michael Matta, second place in the Monday Cup Series point standings, pushing him along. As Todd Merkel holding station on that bottom line, getting a little bit of an advantage, but it looks like it's going to be Austin Call who's going to take this first lap. Oh, I think it was Merkel, actually. 2x2
nose-to-tail racing, and so far these guys really putting on a clinic of how to push and draft going through these turns, backing off just enough so that they can meet back up as they come down the straightaway, straight up, nose-to-tail, getting that bumper, touching and pushing that car as hard as they can. Right now, the advantage to the outside line, that 18 machine of Call, able to just get a nose ahead heading down the back straightaway here.
On board with Michael Matta, trying to push along Austin Call. Justin Lewis getting to the back bumper of Todd Merkel there on the bottom. as Call still leading that outside line. Not a lot of moving and shaking going on right now as Call wiggles out a little bit too wide. Todd Merkel will lead that lap cleanly. Now Michael Matta has the lead of the outside line.
Call perhaps saying that he wanted to take a chance to save some fuel. Drops all the way to the outside line. Looks like he's dropping all the way to the back. Possibly hoping for some safety. And then, of course, as mentioned, try to save a little bit of fuel. Looks like he'll get himself slotted in towards the back of that top row as we see a couple of cars getting loose on the straightaway there, dropping down below the line. That's 39 of Wegman. Possibly having some issues on the exit of turn 2.
He got in a bad bump. May have tried to bail out there. Either way, Wegman still looks okay, still sitting straight, as Todd Merkel still leads this field. Now, the two you're going to want to watch out for is the 16 of Michael Matta, currently leading that outside lane, and the car who he was drafting with all night long, Jonathan Casebeer. He is 2 cars behind him on that outside lane in that Don's Automotive number 6.
Of course, teammates and things that you know from races previously. The other advantage of these SCL drivers, they see each other on a consistent basis at these tracks, so they know who works well together. So certainly things that I'd be keeping in the back of my mind as a driver near the front of this thing. I want to try to keep those guys apart, make sure that they don't start running away with this thing too early on.
See, not a lot of room to see anything other than powder blue on the back bumper of Todd Merkel there from the race lead. And boy, these things get up close and personal. A little bit of a bump there going through the tri-oval secures Todd Merkel in that race lead. Barrett Flo giving quite a push on that outside line, not quite able to do anything, but here comes Casebeer to the outside, trying to shove Adam Lowe in the 58 on his way up.
Going at 3 wide, pushing for this lead right now. Drivers using every lane available to them. Usually this would be disaster in the next-gen car, but with the way these trucks handle, really able to get a great kind of push regardless of what lane you're in and maintain that control much better in these trucks. So we see them 3 wide racing through turns 3 and 4. They'll make their way back to the trioval for a 3-way fight for the lead.
It's 3 wide all the way through this field right now. And if you can't double up, you may as well triple up, as Derek Wegman working his way up to that extreme high lane, and that's the lane that's going to get the advantage. Adam Lowe in 1 lap on that 3rd lane gets all the way out to the race lead, dives down to the middle, not quite clear of Casebeer just yet, as Lowe now will take control of the middle lane.
3rd lane quickly dissolving, becoming 2. A couple of drivers getting stuck in that extreme high line as we now see that 58 machine all the way out to the front. Well clear of the leaders if he wanted to go down, but seems pretty content to stay right around the middle, being pushed by that 6 machine of Casebeer right now.
3rd car on that 3rd lane, Peter Shepard in the number 69 goes from outside to inside. He's now leading that inside lane as Barrett Flo tries to give him a push. Now, as you would have thought, we're 4 wide, just about 4 wide there in the mid-pack. And as you would have thought, Michael Matta slots up behind Jonathan Casebeer. Those two worked so well together on Monday night. Now they've split back up again as Casebeer goes for the lead.
Casebeer saying, hey, I got you up to this point. I gave you some pushes, got you out front, but I'm going to take my chances down low on that inside line with the 69 machine of Shepard behind him giving a push. Looks like he'll be able to maintain that lead for the moment as they make their way through 3 and 4.
You know, as they say, you get 1 win, and that opens the door, that opens the floodgates. Casebeer got that taste of the black and white checkered flag last week, now shoves Adam Lowe up out of the middle lane. Michael Matta tries to push him through, but it looks as though Shepard, going to come up just short. Casebeer leads the lap.
Casebeer able to get a lap led here, and of course doing it the hard way, pushing somebody up through, and then managed to get the pass done on the low lane to get all the way out to the point. Right now, these drivers certainly just fighting for some positions, but it looks like we have gone back to 2 wide racing as we'll be coming up on a lap car here shortly.
It's a very effective way to get in front of somebody that you want to draft with. Not all that effective if you're looking for friends a little bit later on in the race, as now they dive down low to get past the lap car. That is the 78 of Brandon Baker. David Hanna and Brandon Hinton, by the way, did not start this race. Jason Crumley is done, as well as Josh Tarrant-Hill. Christopher Melton appears to be done as well. So 20 cars now circulating this field. Only Brandon Baker is off of the lead lap.
Drivers starting to get things sorted back out, at least for the time being. We are still 2 by 2, good majority of the way through this field, but our leaders right now looking pretty dominant. That 6 machine of Casebeer able to get out front. That 16 of Mata doing a great job keeping him out there, keeping him clear of any trouble at the moment. Those guys look like they have something certainly figured out tonight.
Certainly do, as they're going to push Ronnie Hurst all the way up to the outside. Mata gets turned into the outside wall. Keeping it straight, though, we stay green, but not for long, as into the wall goes the 58 of Adam Lowe. Caution flies.
Certainly some trouble starting all the way at the front of the field. Looks like a bunch of those drivers just doing their best to find a clean way through. Doesn't look like too much damage, but of course, any little bump, any dimple in the fender or aerodynamic work here can certainly spell a lot of trouble, as it is a very, very draft-dependent racetrack.
And again, one fast repair on offer for these drivers. Oh, there's Todd Mergel up at the front. Had a moment of lag, which dropped him all the way to the back. Let's take a look and see what happened here. So it appeared to be Michael Mata trying to block that outside lane off, trying to take that run, maybe moved up just a little bit too late. Forced the 22 out into the wall. Everything looked good for the moment, but then it all went wrong.
Certainly just trying to keep things collected, and a bunch of these drivers diving down as far as pit lane to get away from the incident above them. Again, looked like Casa wasn't quite clear of where he wanted to go, and that caused the 22 machine to be a little bit upset. And of course, then collecting the 58, everybody else gets collected from there as that 58 machine goes around.
Let's go on board with Chad Jones here in the 75. He's behind it. He's trying to poke his way through, and then once he gets turned off the wall, then it starts to really kick off.
Certainly a lot for these drivers to manage, trying to pay attention to the drivers in front of you, see where that hole's going to open up, and then, of course, getting all those hits from behind, not knowing who's going to be checking up or who's going to be giving you an extra shot trying to make your way through this little accident scene here, certainly adds to the confusion.
Just about half the field, actually more than half the field, about 3/4 of the field came down pit road there. Jonathan Casebeer, Derek Wegman, Brandon Herzing in the 722, that Auburn University machine. Justin Lewis, Johnny Wood Jr., Jason Crumley, all coming down pit road. Peter Shepard, the first of the drivers to come down pit road to come back off. We'll take a quick break. We'll be right back. You are watching the Fresh Market 300 here from Talladega Superspeedway, right here on Sim Racing Media. Tonight's SCL SuperTruck Series race is brought to you by The Fresh Market. The Fresh Market is a destination for those looking to discover the best, including convenient restaurant-quality meals, hand-picked produce, premium baked goods, fresh-cut flowers, custom-cut meats, and carefully curated offerings for holidays and special occasions. The intimate and personalized shopping experience that is offered is enhanced with the team members who are a hallmark of the Fresh Market, providing exceptional hospitality. Today, with 161 locations in 22 states, the Fresh Market is committed to their original values of providing guests with inspiring, fresh food to make everyday eating extraordinary. Back here at Talladega Superspeedway, the Fresh Market 300. Here for the SCL SuperTruck Series, round number 8. Just 4 more races to go here in season number 36. After tonight, Jonathan Casebeer out in front after not coming down pit road. The top 6 cars not coming down pit road. Several drivers taking their fast repairs here in the early stages after a wreck on lap number 9 that brought out the first caution of the race. Casebeer chooses the outside lane, getting set to go back to green flag racing. Into the restart zone they go. Green flag back in the air here at Talladega.
Green flag down and away. Doesn't look like either line, inside or outside, really got a ton of advantage. That 39 machine of Wegman off to a great jump. Was able to edge out just in front for a second there, but right now Casebeer having that support behind him of that 7 of Lewis. Have to think that those guys are going to be set up heading down the back straightaway to really start running away with this thing.
May have been a timing and scoring glitch on my end, because we just saw there for a brief moment the 25 of Brandon Hinton. He is on the lead lap, so it appears as though everybody is still in this race except for... you know what? I'm not even gonna guess. If we don't see him, then I think we're out. As a big 4 wide moment there through 3 and 4, Todd Merkel coming out the better of it behind Peter Shepard. Oh, around goes Casebeer.
Drivers not wanting to let things go, and the yellow will come out. 6 around, 8 around, 77 collected. Another accident with a ton of drivers. Still plenty of time left in this race. Have to hope that these drivers can get those machines repaired. If they haven't used that fast repair already, certainly expect to see a couple more here.
There's Josh Tarrant Hill. And it started certainly with the 8 getting turned, as this tri-oval once again proving to be a pretty dangerous spot here for these drivers. Second caution flag of the day flies. As let's take a look and see what happened here from the perspective of Jonathan Casebeer. So felt like he got hooked.
Looks like he got a bad push, got hooked, certainly had some contact, and just along for the ride at that point after the truck gets upset.
See it again here from Casebeer. Oh, Josh Tarrant Hill gets poked to the inside. 96 trying to give him room, and round he goes. From on board, car number 8. Josh Tarrant Hill, where in the world is he? There he is. And once you get into the middle of that, there's really no sense in steering the car, because you could do as much steering as you want. The drivers around you that are bumping into you, those are the ones that are really steering you.
And of course, something that is rarely talked about in speedway racing, once you leave that coefficient of friction behind, meaning you start sliding those tires, there's really not a lot of control you're going to get back at 160, 170 miles an hour, let's say. as you start wrecking to have that control for steering anyway. So drivers doing what they can, but as you mentioned, really not a whole lot of options for these drivers, even if you use some steering inputs, as they're getting bumped around and sliding around on those older tires.
Figured out the mistake, so I do apologize for the screen going black there for a moment, as it will be Peter Shepard out in front, Todd Merkel, Brendan Kornoyer, Josh Tarrant-Hill, who has not come in, it would appear, at least by the front end. Yeah, no, he has not pit yet. And David Hanna, I'm not sure if that 8-car knows he doesn't have much of a front fender, but front bumper, but I would have thought he would have come in with how much he got hit everywhere else.
From what I'm showing on my scoring, he was in on lap 10. Have to wonder if maybe he had a mental mistake, had that fast repair checked last time, and now it is not available perhaps. We'll take a close look and see if he comes down this time by, but could be that he doesn't have that fast repair remaining, and there's not a whole lot his team can do to help fix that truck back up at the moment.
That, or he just wanted to ensure that he would be at the back as he's coming in now. Justin Lewis also coming in as well in car number 7. 20 of Nathan Harper coming in as well. Austin Call, Brandon Hinton coming down pit road. See what happens here with Josh Tarrant-Hill. Well, that fast repair would have popped. I don't think he has it, and that's something we've all done at one point or another. See Nathan Harper coming out in that Chick-fil-A number 20. I have never had in my life a Chick-fil-A, and I have a very good reason for that. I am allergic to peanuts. So when you cook it with peanut oil, that kind of becomes a problem.
Some very good food, and unfortunately not able to partake there, but I'll tell you for sure that's one of my favorite places to go for some good chicken, and of course the wholesome people there at Chick-fil-A really complete the experience.
I've heard that so many times, that same exact thing. I've never had Chick-fil-A. How have you never had Chick-fil-A? I'm allergic to peanuts. Oh, that stinks. Just the same exact way you did it right there. It's just that, So Peter Shepard will lead away on that outside line. Todd Merkel, Brendan Kornoyer, David Hanna. So these couple of wrecks here have really shook this field up from where it was at the start.
Definitely starting to see some drivers towards the front of this thing that hadn't really had their opportunity to work their way up to the front quite yet. And interesting for me, at least so far, not what I would have thought to have seen. Leaders opting to take that outside line, so perhaps something that I'm not remembering, or something within the last couple of updates that really gives these trucks an advantage on the outside line.
There was an update not all that long ago. I believe it was Monday, or was it not? It was last week, late last week, if anything, as Peter Shepard will lead away from that outside line. Maybe just the vision, not being able to see that car all that well on the outside lane, get the jump. Green flag coming back out. And boy, Todd Merkel did not get a good start by keeping close to that driver behind him on the inside line.
And of course, the 69 machine of Shepard able to get well clear of that 2 machine, dives down to the inside line, will now be pushed by that 2 of Merkel. Perhaps a little bit of strategy there with him not going quite as quickly, but certainly inside and outside line off the restart, a little disconnected. Now getting things sorted back out. Looks like we'll get back nose to tail racing, but 69 and 2 easily out front at the moment. Everybody else behind him 2 by 2 trying to get back up and challenge for that lead.
A lot of moving around in the middle of the field that has been caused by this big field shakeup, as Johnny Wood Jr., 2-time winner in the Cup Series earlier this season, now working that third lane, as Shepard, falling like a rock through the middle, gets a little bit of a hip check there from the 745 of Corner.
Of course, a case of, hey, I'm still here, you're not clear of me yet. Takes a couple of taps between that 69 and 745 machine. Shepard able to work his way back up into that high lane there and kind of get slotted in and then jump back down yet again to the middle. Just hang on, try to keep everything sorted out, as right now he is just dropping like a rock, everybody going around either side of him.
Corner is not having a good time up there on that outside lane. Johnny Wood Jr. and Jonathan Casebeer doing everything they can to not make it 4 wide, but the field behind car 745 of Corner has very much bailed out. Now Corner starting to fall towards the back. David Hanna now up in the race lead with Derek Wegman pushing from behind.
Certainly something that these drivers have seen early on. Once a car or one of those trucks starts to kind of get out of shape, everybody just getting concerned, wants to dive out of the way before there is a big issue. Quite a bit of those fast repairs already being used throughout the field, I'm sure, is contributing to all those drivers' shyness as far as pushing once they see somebody starting to get loose up towards the front.
Speaking of pushing, Peter Shepard on his way back forward with Johnny Wood Jr. very closely in tow. Klaus Williams gets swallowed up by those two, as now Peter Shepard working his way along that outside line, trying to edge out David Hanna at the start-finish line, and he will take that lap.
Just barely able to get out in front, but getting out in front when it matters as they cross the stripe there. Hanna still battling hard on the inside, being pushed by that 39 machine of Wegman. Right now, these drivers doing everything they can to give their driver in front of them the advantage. Shepard in the 69 machine back out front with the assistance of that 750 of Wood.
Derek Wegman trying to push along on that bottom line. Peter Shepard up at the front trying to pull that train along. Both of these lines here, by the way, we talk about usually on Superspeedway races when a line doesn't seem to be working. They're not formed up properly. They're not formed up as tight as the other line. Both of these lines are formed up quite closely and quite neatly and just about dead even, but now that inside line's starting to start to pull ahead a little bit.
All comes down to, really at this point, with how they are formed up, the side draft and the skill of the drivers at the front to know when to get down there, get that side draft. And right now the inside line just seems to me like they're showing the advantage of having the shorter way around the racetrack, being able to get out in front just a little bit better than that outside line right now.
Lilith Peters looking out towards the middle there, towards the back of that front line, the outside line, I should say. Timing and scoring errors, at least on my end, have been fixed, so everybody's still out on the racetrack. Josh Tarrant Hill, the only car one lap down right now, running in 25th, so I know the confusion, and that confusion would be that whatever that last update did, iRacing had fun with my settings again, as David Hanna getting pushed quite well down by Derek Wegman out ahead.
These drivers, again, as mentioned, just really keeping things pretty well sorted, but that outside line starting to lose some momentum. See a couple of those drivers bailing out towards the inside, and then some of them just hopping out of line to get some clean air there. The farther out of line these drivers go, the more momentum is lost for the drivers at the front leading this thing. So have to hope that 69 machine can get something done with the 750 of Wood behind him at the moment, get back to the front of this thing, and then maybe drop back down, catch that inside line where they have a little bit better chance of keeping their momentum.
They certainly don't seem as racy as they were on the previous couple of runs here. Now, part of that, I'm sure, is because most of the fields, I'm sure, has taken their fast repair, but also you got to make it to the finish in these races. We're just about a third of the way through this race. There's still a long way to go. It's time to calm down and start logging some laps.
And certainly the other point in the spirit of calming down and logging laps is you can't make it to the end if you don't have enough gas to get there. So I'm sure some of these drivers starting to back the pace up just a little bit, hoping to have a longer green flag run and, of course, stretch that fuel tank as far as they can before they have to come down pit road again.
Riding on board with Austin Call. A wiggle out of that bottom line, a 78 of Brandon Baker right there in front of him. As they go and put Josh Tarrant-Hill a second lap down on that outside line. And you can hear just how much throttle management these guys need to have here. And the deeper you get into this pack, the deeper you get into this line, the more and more throttle management you need to have.
And certainly not something that you would think about at a super speedway racetrack, but a lot of that throttle management really optional on the driver, trying to save some fuel. How close can I get to that guy in front of me, and then how far off of that throttle can I come, maintain that gap between us to keep that draft, but save some fuel and keep that speed up all at the same time.
I tried with my broadcast partner on Monday night, Daniel Paulus Jr., but David, what is the number one rule of super speedway racing?
Number one rule, do not push the pusher. Right now, seen a lot of these drivers come pretty close and think about it, but so far everybody keeping their head on from what I've seen, and nobody really getting these front trucks out of shape. But 2x2 right now, the front three drivers, we are three wide, really just showing their stuff. And then, of course, the three drivers behind them really showing their stuff, getting in there and pushing these guys out front.
Justin Lewis out in front of this field now for the first time since he led the opening couple laps, got the push from Jonathan Casebeer. Justin Lewis, by the way, swept all 4 pole awards this week. Won the pole on Monday night in the Cup Series, won both poles last night for the street stocks and the late model stocks, both at Myrtle Beach, and now here tonight in the SuperTruck Series. So a fantastic week for Justin Lewis, at least as far as the single qualifying goes.
And that run coming from the outside line, so it does go to show if you get these trucks working together and you have the right people behind you, you can really make a move in any single lane here at Talladega in these trucks. Right now, that 69 of Shepard out to the front, followed by Casebeer, really getting things done. But we do have 3 wide racing, 3-4 rows deep behind them.
It doesn't seem to matter. Every time I look away for 1 second, Peter Shepard goes right back up to the front. As now Casebeer looking to the middle with Justin Lewis. And it appears, at least for the moment, how that is going to go. It's going to go the way of Casebeer and Lewis. They've both gotten clear, but they're not going to leave Klaus Williams, the third car, in that middle lane.
Certainly hoping that they have momentum there in the middle. They're going to stay with that machine there heading up that middle line. But these drivers right now really starting to slide around, really starting to search around for being 3 wide. Just hope everybody can kind of keep their head on a swivel, know exactly where those trucks around them are, as we do see them dive back to the inside line there.
And that was dangerous there from Barrett Flo. Well, it's nothing that he did wrong, just that could have been very, very dangerous for him, because you tend to get a little bit of object fixation when you're drafting very close to the driver in front of you, so you start to see that driver in front drift down into the bottom lane. You're not always clear when they do that, so very good from Flo to feel that car still on the bottom. He's actually going to come out the better for it here. Second car on the middle lane.
Good heads-up racing to know exactly where those trucks around you are. And as you mentioned, big thing for these drivers, and especially if you've been racing up from the mid-pack of the field, you get so used to just staring at the bumper in front of you. Hey, I'm going to push this guy around, and then suddenly that bumper starts to disappear, and your initial reaction, as you said, just, I'm going to follow him down, and that's where you run into trouble, sometimes not clear. Great heads-up racing there. Still 3 wide, good majority of these rows, doing everything they can, really showing off the talent right now. And last 8 laps or so, I'd say we've seen 4, 5, 6 different leaders so far.
Now, I was going to say, do you know when this 3-wide racing started? Right around the time I said, boy, they've really calmed down. They ratcheted it right back up as Barrett Flo's going to go to the race lead, but Derek Wegman getting one heck of a push from guess who? Peter Shepard up the middle. Wegman will lead that lap. Look at Michael Matta start to work his way back forward.
Drivers certainly finding some momentum right now as this green flag run continues, and really, I don't think we're going to see any of this pressure let up, as even those cars towards the back of this thing are finding themselves 2 and 3 wide at times, fighting for positions as far back as, let's say, the 16th, 17th, and 18th place. So really not calming down anywhere in this field for the moment. Everybody fighting to get their chance up front. Right now, that 92 of Flo out front, but only a very narrow lead over that 39 and 6 machine. Of course, now that 16 machine moving up. Lots of great racing, just keeping an eye on it here from the perspective behind.
On board of Todd Merkel, and here's something we don't always talk about here that really plays a factor in that middle lane is, boy, contact just in front of Todd Merkel. Somehow everyone keeps it straight, but that looked like Justin Lewis and Peter Shepard may have had a little bit of a coming together as Shepard goes back to the middle. Oh boy, that was very close.
Some great bravery out of that 2 machine. I know riding on board there were a couple of moments I would have certainly let off. So great confidence in those drivers in front of him, and certainly staying in this thing. We stay green flag racing as that contact happened, and nobody appears too much worse for the wear, but we do go back to 2 wide racing rather than 3 wide racing.
To finish my thought, we're going to go on board here with David Hanna. Something we don't talk about here that's unique to Talladega. This inside lane fades up from what you're seeing here. It goes from 4 lanes in the tri-oval to 3 lanes coming past the tri-oval into turn 1. So if you're running 3 wide here, possibly 4 wide, you got to take into account that track is going to narrow when you get towards the start-finish line.
Certainly things to keep in mind in that tri-oval, and as you mentioned, the track narrowing, something that these drivers don't really think about. It's not that the track itself narrows, but moving it into these turns, and they've done a great job of it so far, kind of picking where you're going to go and initiate that turn. The drivers 2 and 3 cars behind you are really just going off the cue of your bumper starting to slide away, not having any viewpoint of that inside line or anything else as a reference point, knowing when these turns are going to be started. So great job, especially on that middle lane, not having basically any indication at all when we are 3 wide racing of when that driver above and below you is going to start making a turn.
Yeah, the middle lane is definitely the danger lane when it comes to that, because you're pinching down, trying to get that side draft, and then all of a sudden that lane has to come up. Otherwise, they're on the apron and wreck the whole field. As Derek Wegman jumps up into the middle lane, he will get the race lead, at least for the moment. Barrett Flo getting a very nice push from Klaus Williams down there on the bottom lane, trying to get that back. And once again, we're 3 wide, 4 lanes deep, 5 lanes deep for the race lead.
Keeping a look on that outside lane. That's the 69 machine of Shepard yet again making his way to the front of this thing. 6 of Case Beer pushing him out front this time. And of course, these drivers at the front of this field, just when we think they're going to start calming down, narrowing back out to 2 wide, here we are 3 wide racing, as you mentioned, at times 4, 5, 6 rows deep. So these drivers really want those positions right now. And of course, makes for some great racing, but still a long way to go. These drivers are going to have to be really careful here, make sure that they are clear when they're starting to move back and forth between these lanes.
We had 2 cautions here earlier on in this race, one on lap 9 and then another one about a lap or 2 after we went back green on lap 13. Other than that, we have been rolling green here in the Fresh Market 300 from Talladega. 40 laps to go, 4 wide up here at the front, and around they go. It wasn't going to last, and it didn't.
Well, you can go 3 wide racing here at Talladega, and at times, maybe in the straightaways, push that 4 wide attempt, but certainly seeing the results of a failed 4 wide attempt here in a turn, certainly not a place you want to be, especially in the middle of that 4 wide attempt. Those 2 cars in the middle, very likely to get bounced around and then spit out at odd angles towards a wall.
Looked like Jonathan Casebeer up at the front of that line. Derek Wegman was certainly involved in that. As, yep, there they are, 4 wide. And just everybody below them, more or less, gets wiped out there. See it again from an above angle here. See how, because somebody has to get spit out a line here. Let's see. 96 goes high, and see exactly what we were talking about a couple laps ago. Plenty of room, plenty of room, plenty of room, and then that inside line starts to drift up and follow the yellow line of the track, and it tightens everything back up again.
That was the 69 machine of Shepard that kind of got forced a little higher than he wanted. That caused that whole 4 wide occurrence there in a turn. So great heads up racing on these drivers to try to get it done, but just was unfortunately wrong move at the wrong time. Diving to the inside of that 69 machine, splitting them 4 wide as they headed into the turn.
Pit stops here at Talladega. We'll take a quick break. We'll be right back. You are watching the Fresh Market 300 from Talladega Superspeedway, round number 8 of the SCL SuperTruck Series. Tonight's SCL SuperTruck Series race is brought to you by The Fresh Market. The Fresh Market is a destination for those looking to discover the best, including convenient restaurant-quality meals, hand-picked produce, premium baked goods, fresh-cut flowers, custom-cut meats, and carefully curated offerings for holidays and special occasions. The intimate and personalized shopping experience that is offered is enhanced with the team members who are a hallmark of the Fresh Market, providing exceptional hospitality. Today, with 161 locations in 22 states, the Fresh Market is committed to their original values of providing guests with inspiring, fresh food to make everyday eating extraordinary. Back here at Talladega Superspeedway, the Fresh Market 300 from Talladega. Getting set to go back to green flag racing, Klaus Williams and Lilith Peters out in front of this field after another big incident. Claims a couple more cars. Green flag is back in the air. How much longer until the next one?
Williams out to a great jump. Of course, Peters not sleeping on that restart either. Had a pretty good run, just couldn't get hooked up with that machine behind her, give her a push. So inside line has the advantage as that outside line will get worked out. Looks like the 7 of Lewis will hop up there and challenge for the lead from behind that 4 machine. And of course, that's the 69 of Shepard helping him out. We've seen him work his way back out front quite a few times here over the last few laps.
It's been all over the front of this field, has car number 69, as Lilith Peters kind of hung out towards the middle to the back of the pack here tonight. Now she's getting a chance up towards the front. Brandon Herzig in the 722, showing us that Auburn number 96 car. And Johnny Wood Jr. now clearing on that outside lane, so a great push from that high lane. Not sure if Klaus Williams is just trying to back off or if it's just the no help from Brendan Kornoyer that's forcing him to fall back.
Certainly great advantage for the inside line right now, as a majority of those cars did hop down. But just as I mentioned that, you see them start fanning out immediately back to 3 wide racing. Nobody wants to settle for second place here. Call it a battle for anyone. That 7 machine of Lewis leading at the moment, but the 69 of Shepard going out 3 wide there. These drivers are hungry for that position. Make no mistake about it. If there is an opportunity, we're going to see 3 wide racing for this lead all the way to the end of this race.
Yeah, it's a good thing to not want to just settle for second place, but when when second place doesn't really matter for another 35 laps, this is where I'd be saying, okay, I don't care how good my car is. I'm falling to the back. I want a big move to the middle there from Justin Lewis. Yeah, I'd be falling to the back going, yeah, no, you guys have fun. I'll keep my heart rate at an acceptable level.
Got to find that safety net wherever you can on this racetrack, as these drivers are 3 wide racing 4-5 rows deep at times. So top 15, 16 positions or so, all racing it out for position in that battle. And of course, really the advantage right now going to the inside and outside lanes, that middle lane is really just kind of broken up and keeps having drivers hop in from the top and the bottom, just trying to block that run anytime they do get momentum.
On board here with Joshua Kornoyer, running that inside line. Just want to see what it's like to run up against the wall here. Let's go up to Chad Jones, who's way up there on that high line. Looking back off the side of that car, number 75. See how close to that wall you have to be, not just to stay in line, but just to give the drivers below you enough room to be able to work.
These drivers certainly pushing some limits with how close a lot of them would be comfortable racing to these walls. Of course, we have seen drivers get a little closer at times, but when it comes down to drafting, and especially as we start making our way towards the front here as we ride on board, you'll see these drivers kind of inch a lot closer, or at least what appears to be a lot closer, as they're really up into that bumper of the car in front of them.
That is a beautiful sight. We were just riding on board there with Chad Jones. That is a beautiful sight when you see the first couple of cars in front of you start to dip down to the next lane, and then all of a sudden you get that big run of about 3 or 4 car lengths right up towards the front of the group. That is such a nice feeling, a nice sight to see. As now up towards the front, Johnny Wood Jr. out to the race lead in the 750. Justin Lewis leading the middle lane. Peter Shepard leading the bottom lane. Now Klaus Williams dips to the middle lane in the 04.
All right, we made it all the way back out to the front. Let's spread it out again.
Yep.
Drivers, of course, not wanting to give an inch here, so really getting pushed all the way to that front line and then trying to see who has the momentum, which line do I want to jump to once you do make it all the way out to that lead point, and see where you can block that run. As inside and outside now coming to an advantage, moves Williams back. That gives Shepard the advantage on the inside line, but on the outside line, that 7 machine of Lewis getting pushed by the 750 machine of Wood, certainly looking to make their way back up towards the front and take the lead over again.
And just to show you how quickly things change around this racetrack, that bottom line in turns 1 and 2 on this lap, not just last time around, this lap was about 5 or 6 car lengths off the race lead. Coming through 3 and 4, they were 5 or 6 car lengths clear of all the other lines out in front. Things happen really, really quick, which is why you can't really jump to too many conclusions around this racetrack.
These drivers, of course, keeping things interesting. Our top 10 positions right now, separated by no more than 0.3 of a second. These drivers are absolutely battling for every position within the top 10. And then, of course, even as we look back all the way to the 24th position, no more than 2 seconds really separates the good majority of this field. So drivers keeping things very, very close, very tight here with the racing that we're seeing. And it's been exciting to watch. Lead changes left, right, and center. 2 machine right now of Merkel out front. Shepard yet again trying to make a push out towards the front. 7 machine of Lewis on that outside line. These guys are really just putting on a clinic right now, showing how drafting can work from any single lane, any position here at Talladega.
I equate these races to Game 7 of the 2016 World Series between the Cubs and Guardians. It is so much fun to watch unless you have skin in the game, unless you're a fan of somebody, because this is about as tense as it gets when you're sitting behind the wheel, constantly running 3 wide, no reprieve, no break. You're constantly on it, constantly inches away from somebody else at top speed, not too much farther away than Ronnie Hurst was to Johnny Wood on that outside lane.
Certainly glad that I am not holding a wheel tonight with the way these trucks are racing, but as you mentioned, what a great time to be a fan watching this thing. See it 4 rows, 5 rows deep right now, it looks like. These cars 3-ride racing, so that puts our top 15 really within about a half a second of each other with the way these guys are racing, and it's just so fun to watch. We're trying to keep up with all these position changes, all these lead changes, but so far tonight, really just a couple of drivers up here at the front of the field refusing to quit. I can say for sure that 69 machine of Shepard, that 7 of Lewis, definitely getting their money's worth out of tonight's race. And of course, all these drivers giving them a push up there. You have the 750 machine of Wood, the 2 of Merkel, plenty of these drivers we've talked about all night long.
Saw on that camera coming out at turn 4, Brandon Baker had his hands full of race car in that number 78. Todd Merkel out in front on the bottom lane. Peter Shepard leading the middle lane. Justin Lewis now leads the race from the high lane. He was 4th about 100 yards ago. He's now leading. Klaus Williams giving one heck of a push down on the bottom. It's not quite enough to pass up Johnny Wood Jr. as now Lewis will go down to the middle lane to block off Peter Shepard. Running in 10th right now. He's on that bottom lane. He's the 4th car on the bottom lane. That is Barrett Flo. Now Flo has a little bit of a streak to concern himself with here tonight. He has won each of the last 2 races. He won at Charlotte last week and won at Iowa 2 weeks ago. So Barrett Flo looking for his 3rd consecutive win, and around the biggest wild card track on the calendar might be a little bit difficult to do.
Certainly a difficult task set out in front of him if he wants to keep that streak alive. But with the way everyone has been racing here tonight, pick a lane, pick a line, get somebody to start pushing you, and you can find your way out to the front. Like I said, regardless of lane, regardless of position, anybody has a shot here tonight, especially when you talk about our top 15 cars being within a second of each other.
What a run Todd Merkel and Klaus Williams got on the bottom line going through turns 3 and 4. Todd Merkel, again, was fighting just barely to stay in the top 10. Going into turn 3, he was in 2nd place. Coming to the start-finish line, and what do you know, they're 3 wide, 4 lanes deep yet again. Justin Lewis back on that outside line. It's deja vu all over again from the last couple laps.
Here at Talladega in the SCL Truck Series, there shall be no reprieve from 3 wide racing. These drivers absolutely putting on a clinic of how to draft and stay in a lane, at least while you're pushing forward. And then, of course, once you make your way to the front, or once a spot does become available below you, seems like every driver here is finding a way to make their way down to the inside and then back up to the top once they fall to the rear of that inside line.
This has been absolutely stellar racing here from start to finish here tonight, and we are 2/3 of the way through this race. Peter Shepard and Todd Merkel leading their respective lines. And just think, this is the last of the 3 wide racing that we are going to get to see this season. Next week, the series will head to Hickory Motor Speedway. After that, it'll be IRP, the Lucas Oil Raceway, the former Indianapolis Raceway Park, short track, Bristol, short track, and then the old Atlanta. So they got to get this out of their system now, because they're not going to be able to do this again all season.
And certainly taking advantage of it while they can. These drivers have put on a great show, as you mentioned, about 2/3 of the way through here. And of course, closing down on what I would expect to be a good percentage of this fuel run. Would expect to see some of these drivers start backing off just a little bit on that pace. Try to save some fuel, start figuring out some pit strategy.
No one's backing off here. It's Nathan Harper up into 2nd spot in that middle lane, as it looked like Lilith Peters was trying to bail out there on the outside line, went from the middle all the way up to the wall. She ended up getting caught by Johnny Wood Jr. and Justin Lewis, not allowed to go back, as now she's pushing Nathan Harper out to the race lead. Car number 20 up to the point for the first time tonight.
Well, the one way that you can find your way in position to get yourself out to the back, hey, get all the way out front and then pick your lane, which lane you want to go to. Don't worry, it won't be long. Somebody will pass you for that lead, and you'll start working your way back to the back of the field again.
Lilith Peters said forget it. Right back to the middle lane, pushing away on the 20 of Nathan Harper. As Todd Merkel still getting pushed by Klaus Williams on the bottom. Johnny Wood Jr., the lead car in that 3rd lane, which now has 4 cars in it. Middle lane, though, appears to be the dominant lane at the moment. But that's a very moment-to-moment thing from what we've seen tonight, because we've seen all 3 of these lanes dominant at one point or another tonight.
You can race from any one of these lanes, and certainly with the way that momentum has shifted here tonight, inside, outside, doesn't matter. Whoever has the run at any given point in time is going to have the advantage, seeing that low line as far as 5 and 6 cars back, working their way up in less than half a lap to be leading the thing. So certainly don't think you are out of it. Just keep in the throttle, keep pushing that truck in front of you, and you can find yourself at the front of this thing, especially come the end of it. These drivers back to 3 wide racing, 5 rows deep.
Todd Merkel, Klaus Williams, Derek Wegman, the front 3 cars on the bottom lane. That is Nathan Harper, Lilith Peters, and Brendan Kornoyer. The three front cars in the middle lane. On the outside, Johnny Wood Jr., Justin Lewis, and Peter Shepard, the first three cars on the outside lane. It has been a wild race here tonight at Talladega, coming to 21 laps to go. We'll take a quick break. We'll be right back, and we'll take you to the finish here at Talladega Superspeedway in the Fresh Market 300 for the SCL SuperTruck Series. We'll be back right after this. Tonight's SCL SuperTruck Series race is brought to you by The Fresh Market. The Fresh Market is a destination for those looking to discover the best, including convenient restaurant-quality meals, hand-picked produce, premium baked goods, fresh-cut flowers, custom-cut meats, and carefully curated offerings for holidays and special occasions. The intimate and personalized shopping experience that is offered is enhanced with the team members who are a hallmark of the Fresh Market, providing exceptional hospitality. Today, with 161 locations in 22 states, the Fresh Market is committed to their original values of providing guests with inspiring, fresh food to make everyday eating extraordinary. Back here at Talladega Superspeedway, the Fresh Market 300. We are down now to 16 laps to go, and we are down to a little bit of a conundrum. The last time that these drivers came into pit, lap 36, 23 laps ago, and with 16 to go, They've been running 3 wide the entirety of this run. They're going to have to somehow find a way to get single file to come down pit road to fuel their cars up for the final run.
Well, Frank, you see, the easiest way to solve this problem is to just pit on 3 different laps. The inside row goes on the first lap, the second row moves down, and the third row gets their chance after them. So
it sounds
we'll take a look, see how it sorts out. But these drivers, of course, still not wanting to give an inch. See some 3 wide racing. Couple rows back from the lead at the moment, but right now, Harper at the point, Peters in that outside kind of middle lane trying to push her way to the front. Cornware there pushing along behind Peters, and the 2 of Merkel, who we've seen up front quite consistently pushing that inside line. That's the 20 of Harper. So these drivers really doing a great job so far, getting it sorted back out to 2 lines, it appears. Starting to settle down just enough to get these stops underway, but make no mistake about it, once these stops are complete, they're going to be back to 3 wide racing, especially if they all manage to come down around the same time.
But I will say this, and you can tell that they are coming down and getting close to pit time here. Justin Lewis, who even on Monday we saw was a demon on that outside lane, he's been doing the same thing tonight. He has fallen all the way to the back of the middle lane and is just coasting right now. He's not really racing. He's not really running hard. Same thing with Johnny Wood Jr. He's been up on that outside line all race, just chilling in ninth towards the back end of the middle lane. Same thing with Peter Shepard. He's been a guy who's been trying to get up to the front all night long. Now just kind of chilling in that second lane, relaxing. Guys are not pushing the envelope too much right now, which means, yeah, pit stops are coming.
And of course, those drivers you mentioned having some time out front in the lead used more fuel. So letting these other drivers out in front of them right now save a little bit of that fuel now so that they can all come down and pit together, get that strategy, get back out, hoping for a caution. But of course, these drivers racing pretty good right now, 2 by 2. I don't think we're going to see that caution. We're going to have some green flag stops here within the next couple of laps, I'm thinking.
There goes the 69 looking towards the outside, but no real dangerous threat. And this is also the first time that we really haven't seen that middle or the outside lane really become a threat. Brendan Cornoyer leading that lane right now with Ronnie Hurst, who was involved in the last big one back on lap 34. That was the last caution we've had in this race. Only 2 cautions so far here, 3 cautions so far here tonight, and we have been running green for the last just about 30 laps, and this is the calmest it has been, minus the pace laps.
These drivers certainly getting things sorted so far, but doesn't look like they're letting up any on the pace. Just kind of finding their spot on that inside line, and it's really going to come down to once that first driver makes a peel onto pit road, I think we'll see everybody else start diving down with them. It's just when is that light going to come on the dash and really tell these drivers I've got nothing left, and somebody's got to make their way onto pit road.
Interesting little spot that these drivers on the outside line find themselves in, because right now Johnny Wood Jr. is the last car on that outside lane, and he's been hovering between Derek Wegman and Barrett Flo. Now, why is that interesting? Well, Barrett Flo has been leaving quite a bit of a gap between himself and the 39, so if it was getting close to pitting time, Johnny Wood Jr. has had that gap that he's been able to fall into. It's a big wiggle off the third lane for Peter Shepard. Here they come down on the bottom, led by the 2 of Todd Merkel. Don't speed, don't wreck it. Watch out, Klaus Williams hits that inside wall. Not too hard, though.
Majority of the drivers able to get it woed up. It looks like enough to make their way onto pit road. 10th on back right now, of course, coming to pit service, and that leaves our front 9 drivers here to battle it out, and I expect them to come down this time by. Right now, the 69 of Shepard out front, 750 of Wood. They were in that higher lane, make their way on down to that low lane. Expect to see them lead this group onto pit road.
Looks like fuel only stops for a lot of those guys down pit road. So it's going to have to be quick, especially around here. A mistake around this racetrack pitting could be disastrous. We see typically 2, 3, 4 cars fall off of the lead group during the pit cycle. Is right here. Brandon Hinton is currently going to inherit the race lead. This group had not come into pit yet. David Hanna has not come into pit yet either, and that may have been a big mistake for Hanna. He's the only driver that has not yet come down pit road. Let's take a look at the track map as drivers start to work their way back out onto the circuit. That 750 that you see there is Johnny Wood Jr. Compare that to the 2 of Todd Merkel.
These drivers starting to get things sorted back out after pit stops here. Look like we will be merging fairly close, keeping these groups fairly tight, but certainly going to be a number of these drivers within that first group trying to avoid those cars coming off of pit lane now. The 2 of Merkel leading that crew, able to get up to the bumper of that 1 and 750 machine, see if they have enough momentum to just go right around them here. Looks like they will. Coming back out of 4, it's going to be a fight as they make their way through the tri-oval, just trying to get these cars sorted back out, get them all grouped back up, and see who's going to come out on top.
This is what I was talking about. You have to be inch perfect on pit road because you tend to lose drivers in the pit cycle, and this massive pack of 19 cars whittled down to just 10. 10 cars up here in the lead pack now.
We talk about how these drivers were pushing so hard all night long. Back just 15, 20 laps ago, this would have been 3 wide racing, 6 rows deep, as you mentioned, containing right around all 20 of those cars within a second of each other. Now narrowed down to the top 10 or so cars. Really just pushing to see who will have that shot here in another 9 laps coming to that checkered flag. Who's going to have the advantage? Right now, the 6 of Casebeer leading that group along, able to keep that truck out front.
There's Jonathan Casebeer. He is now leading this top 10 group. Peter Shepard will now fall in line. He will fall into the second group, which will now consist of Michael Matta in car number 16, Derek Wegman, Chad Jones, Brandon Baker, Christopher Melton, and Brendan Cornoyer. So that is your second group, 6.5 seconds off the lead group. As here they are running side by side. More cars up on that outside line, but still the bottom has the advantage right now.
And of course, this is exactly what that second group wants to see. As long as they decide to remain nose to tail in that second group, the more that this front crew of 10 goes side by side racing, the more advantage they have of trying to catch back up. But with 7 to go, do they have enough time to make up that gap? And then, of course, with 7 to go, how long do you wait in this first group to start going 2 wide racing to try to get the advantage, get yourself out front when it really counts?
Going to get 2 more cars joining this group is Klaus Williams, who sped going on to pit road in car number 04, will join this group, as well as the 22 of Ronnie Hurst. Now, here is what happened to Ronnie Hurst coming out of pit road. He was a part of that second group. Just a little bit too much gas, started to drift towards the 69, and around he went, far enough off the racing line, no caution. Six laps to go in what has been a wild night, as here comes Austin Call looking on the outside line. Now, Call has not been a fixture in this race. He's been one of those laid-back kind of guys waiting for the finish. It's go time now.
Put them out 3 by 3 for these top 10. These drivers are going to do it yet again. 3 wide racing, 2 on the inside, 1 in the middle, 18 on the outside, leading their respective groups. Who can get the advantage? Who can gain the momentum and really be out front of this thing, especially come the end? We're seeing those notes being taken right now by these drivers, especially in that third position. That would be the 77, the 7, and we'll say the 6 machine. Taking some notes, knowing when they have to make their move, try to make their way up to the front, try to get by these drivers in front of them.
And you thought they were done 3-wide racing, as we're right back to it here, just a couple less cars. Lilith Peters, car number 1, in position number 1. Once again, Todd Merkel still finding a home on that bottom line. Now out to the race lead with the push from Barrett Flo, who again looking to win his 3rd consecutive race here in the SuperTruck Series. Joshua Yarborough has not had a lot of luck on Monday nights. Now the 3rd car on that bottom lane, 4th position on track.
Drivers coming to the line this time. By will have 4 to go, and right now that 2 machine looking very comfortable in that lead spot. Of course, that one of Peters able to get the advantage from that middle lane, get a little bit of time led here and there on a couple of these laps. So I think we're seeing that 2-lane group really working out at the moment, but make no mistake about it, as we inch towards the last few laps here, that 18 machine has put themselves in a great position to get to the front of this thing. Should another car try to join in, shift a little bit of that momentum to that outside 3rd line there.
If you've watched any form of Talladega racing, aside from the 04 and the 22, who are currently a lap down, anyone up here in this front group can win this race, and anyone in this front group can throw it away and leave it for the guys in the second group. Right now, Lilith Peters and Todd Merkel lead the way. Merkel on the bottom, Peters in the middle. Call working the outside with Monday night's winner, Jonathan Casebeer. Boy, what a show that these drivers have put on here tonight. It has been incredible.
10 drivers, quarter of a second apart. Make no mistake about it, these drivers are hungry for it, and certainly we won't know which one of these top 10 is going to be our winner right until the end of this thing. It's only heating up, and we're 3 to go, about to take the popsicle sticks here as they're making their way towards the tri-oval. It's anybody's game right now. These drivers really starting to heat things up. We see the 7 machine of Lewis move up to the top line, getting that critical momentum going on that high side for the 18 machine of Call, the 6 machine of Casebeer, 1 of Lilith Peters in the middle. Lilith Peters there in the middle. The 2 machine of Merkel down low. Throw a blanket over your top 10. It is anybody's race right now as we are heading down the back straightaway. Everybody has been hungry for it all night long. We've seen 3-wide racing all night long. When do you choose to make the move? When do you choose to abandon your line and start going to another line that you see momentum just to get a better finishing position? We're about to find everything out here as we are on the exit of turn 4, heading towards the tri-oval. 1 more time to go after they cross the line. Whose race will it be?
And we got 2 lap cars up here at the front that look as though they are going to play a little bit of a factor here in this finish. It's David Hanna and Brandon Hinton that are up in front of this line. Right now, Justin Lewis has the advantage. Little bit of a wiggle there. Austin Call, Lilith Peters somehow keeping it straight. What a drive from both drivers up there in the middle and the outside lane. Right now, Justin Lewis still has the advantage up in that 3rd lane, but here comes Todd Merkel down on the bottom. Barrett Flo giving the push to that car number 2 on the inside. Lap cars in the lane now diving out of the way. It looks as though it's going to be a 2-horse race between Todd Merkel and Lilith Peters. Car number 2 on the bottom getting a big push from car number 92. Little bit of door-to-door contact. Here comes Barrett Flo looking to the inside, but Todd Merkel is going to hold on and win the Fresh Market 300.
What a race we have seen. That 2 machine able to get it done. Of course, 92 of Flo coming up just 4/100ths of a second short of being able to push that 2 out front and then take his push away and try to get to the lead. The 77 of Yarborough, car that we really didn't talk about much at all tonight, managing to make his way up to that 3rd position. Of course, that number 1 machine of Lilith Peters coming home in 4th. 20 machine of Harper coming home in 5th, but our top 10 separated by less than half a second. These drivers were hungry for that win and certainly showed it all the way to the final lap of this thing.
Todd Merkel rode that inside line all race long, and when he needed it to work for him, it almost bit him in the rear end as Barrett Flo got to that bottom line, but Merkel had just enough momentum to take the race win. Right now, your race winner here, Todd Merkel. David, you're with him.
Todd, this is David and Frank up in the booth. You got me?
I do. How are you guys?
Oh, we are doing great. You guys kept us on our toes all night long. 3-wide racing. I just have to know, a good majority of that race and that 3-wide racing, how close to just absolutely white-knuckling the steering wheel were you?
My hands are sore right now, I can assure you.
You did a great job getting it done. Of course, running that low line quite well to your advantage as we were coming towards the end of the race there. Tell me what was going through your mind knowing that you were going to be 3-wide racing for that finish.
Well, you know, every once in a while that outside row would get a good run. Even a third row up top would get a good run. I didn't really know how it was going to shake out. I just wanted, Barrett was fantastic helping me push. And I don't know, there was nothing I could do except stay on that yellow line without getting into some kind of trouble.
You were able to find yourself away from any of the trouble, especially when it mattered the most. Just want to say congrats again, and of course give you this opportunity to give any thank yous and shout outs that you need to.
Well, I want to thank Justin Lewis and Austin Call. Those are my teammates. We're in the channel together talking. They keep me cool and calm. It's not that often that I get to run up front as much as I did tonight. So it was nice to have them to talk to keep me from getting nervous. I want to thank Barrett Flo for the nice push. I want to thank Lilith Peters for not squeezing me too hard when we were running side by side for all those laps. And I want to thank my engine shop on Long Island, New York, Merkel Racing Engines. We do real race car stuff too. I run Liberty's transmissions, Ross pistons, and I like my Liberty's gears transmissions.
Well, congrats again on that win. We're going to send you back to celebrate with that team and go enjoy this win. It's real special.
I appreciate it. Hopefully we'll talk to you guys again soon.
That was your race winner, Todd Merkel, pardon me. Now we will go to our second place finisher, Barrett Flo. Barrett, boy, you gave it one last Hail Mary right at the very end there. Unfortunately, came up just a little bit short.
Yeah, that was the only shot I had. I was committed to Todd. It didn't matter what happened. If you could stay in line and run that bottom, as crazy as everybody was getting in the second, third lane, I just felt like it was better just to stay committed to Todd.
How insane was this race here tonight? Because it looked nuts from our perspective, but you being down there on the racetrack, being 3-wide, full throttle for 40 laps to finish this race out, how insane was that tonight?
Yeah, it was pretty wild. Usually I run at the back, but haven't had much luck lately doing that, and decided to stay up front. And so yeah, it was kind of wild, but it was a lot of fun, and I felt like everybody did a really good job.
We go to Hickory Motor Speedway next week. You unfortunately lost a 2-race winning streak here. What do you think your odds are of starting up a new one next week?
Well, Hickory's a good track, but Justin and a lot of those guys, they'll be good, and Chris Myers. So we'll just, we'll have to see how it shakes up.
All right. Anyone you want to give a shout out to before we let you go?
Just thanks to all the hard work that goes into the league. I really appreciate all that.
All right. Your second place finisher here tonight, Barrett Flo. Bud, congratulations.
Thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
And now, David, you are with our third place finisher tonight, the 77 of Joshua Yarborough.
Hey.
Josh, this is David and Frank up in the booth. You got me?
Yes, I got you guys.
Perfect. You had a pretty silent kind of run all night long. I know for sure that we missed you making your way kind of up through the field, but certainly found yourself in the right place at the right time, able to get on podium tonight. Tell me what it was like three wide racing throughout this field. How stressful was it all night long?
Well, it was very stressful. I would usually hang on the bottom side because if a wreck happens, if you're on the bottom side, you can at least go in the grass to avoid it and usually avoid big damage. But coming there towards the end, it was just, pretty good, except that second lane was hugging real close. You're like, oh man, please don't get into me.
Certainly found yourself right place, right time to make your way on the podium. And as you mentioned, having that out on the bottom line certainly is a place that I like to find myself in. But just want to say congrats on that third place finish. Give you this opportunity to thank any of those sponsors, give some shout outs. And of course, love to hear your thoughts heading into next week after you get those thank yous and shout outs in.
First off, I want to thank my Uncle Ronnie. He was racing tonight. He got second place on Monday night, so that was good to see him. Tonight, unfortunately, didn't go his way with the pit stops, but, still hung in there and finished the race. I'd also like to give a thank you to my beautiful wife, Heather. She was sitting there watching it in the other room, could hear her cheering at the end. I'd also like to thank my buddies Ryan and Philip McMurray, Eric Bennett, and Michael Ducharme for always giving me that home team advantage of just cheering me on in the comments.
All right, Josh. Well, just one thing left to do before we let you go. We're looking ahead next week to Hickory. How do you feel your chances are next week racing there?
If I'm not mistaken, I think I volunteered to admin at Hickory, so might not even have a chance, but if I wind up doing, I think, that's a quarter-mile track? Oh,
It is a short track.
I remember that last year. That one was pretty tough. I think I wound up getting a top 10, but if I do wind up racing, definitely going to try and keep my nose clean right until the end.
All right. Well, we hope to see you out there on track, and we'll send you back to celebrate your podium with the team.
Thank you. Y'all have a good night.
So, David, I think now would be a pretty good time to just be able to exhale and just what we saw over the last 40 laps of that race was nothing short of phenomenal. You could see three wide action all night long, but if you're wrecking every 3 or 4 laps, it doesn't quite hit the same way it did here tonight. 40 laps, nothing but three wide racing. Got a couple of close calls, but nothing really imminent as far as a wreck was concerned. What a job these guys did here tonight. By far the premier race of this season from any of the 4 series here tonight.
And certainly doing a great job, as you mentioned. Even with that three wide racing, there was contact at times, but these drivers really showing off their skill and control behind the wheel of these trucks. Able to keep it straight in those last 40 laps, keep things rolling. And of course, we saw the cream rise to the top here. The 2 Machine getting that win. Saw him good all night long. And then, of course, flurry of these other drivers making their way through here, really keeping this thing nice and close all the way to the end. I know it had us on the edge of our seats, and hopefully everybody watching had just as good a time as we had all night long.
It was absolutely wild stuff here tonight at Talladega. So we'll take our breath now. We'll take a look at the finishing results here from tonight's race as Todd Merkel takes his first win of the SuperTruck season. Barrett Flo comes home in second. Joshua Yarborough, Lilith Peters, Nathan Harper rounding out the top 5. Justin Lewis, Johnny Wood Jr., Austin Call, Brandon Herzing, and Jonathan Casebeer down to 10th. Peter Shepard, Michael Matta, Christopher Melton, Derek Wegman, Brendan Kornoyer down to 15th. Again, a lot of these guys got split up during the pit stops. Brandon Baker, Chad Jones, Adam Lowe, Jason Crumley, and Joshua Corder down to 20th. Klaus Williams, Ronnie Hurst, David Hanna, Brandon Hinton, and Josh Terrett Hill all coming home one lap down to round out the 25-car field here tonight. So that will do it for us here tonight. For my broadcast partner, David Modesbaugh, I am Frank Marchese. Thank you very much for making us a part of your evening. Thank you very much to the Fresh Market for putting on the show here tonight. And remember, as you walk down the road of life, please don't play in traffic. Good night, everybody.